2001 dot-com crash.
Yeah.
We went from 105 employees to 36.
Wow.
It was a struggle. I mean, it actually gives me the chills and almost tear up just thinking about it. It was so difficult. Everything I learned in business was either a mistake or an accidental success that I then parlayed on. And one of them was just figuring out how to schedule manufacturing in a way that worked without letting anybody down. I want everything I touch to be successful, right? I'm a business guy, but I don't want to work very hard. And I don't want to sit and think about a deal that's not working, because that just wears on you and it wears you out. I said, I'm in, but not for a one-shot deal. I'm in if you want to make a business out of it. And we've built what eventually became a $20 million company.
Welcome back to the CashFlow Quest. We got a fun guest here, Troy Lindstrom, a good friend, very successful guy, somebody that we look up to, and we've had some funny stories that he's told us over the couple years I've known you. He was, lo and behold, an airport buddy of mine, like around the corner on our same airport here where we're out of a hangar. And so welcome, and thanks for coming, Troy.
Hey, thanks a lot. Yeah, it was really good to meet you guys. We've had a good couple of years now, and it's fun being on the airport grounds for sure.
Yeah, it's a close-knit community.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It is. So we wanted to have some fun in your story. I've touched on only probably a few of your main pieces, and you had a steel company.
Manufacturing company, right?
Manufacturing company. And so why don't you lay out your journey as it relates to your kickoff and your younger days, and then like the sale and kind of how you transitioned into.
All right, we'll start with the business, and then we'll go back to the younger days later.
All right.
But in 1988, I started a sheet metal manufacturing company. I had took a random job in sheet metal when I was in college and stuck with it. Went into sales, knew the clients, knew the market for threaded rail for rack mount equipment, which later became computer rooms, which later became the cloud.
Oh, wow.
And so right place, right time. We quickly grew. Never had any cash. It was always a struggle because in manufacturing, you have to be relevant. To be relevant, you got to buy new equipment every year. So it was a struggle. We bought equipment. We grew buildings, 88, 90, 92, 95, 98, kept growing. Then this thing called the cloud was coming around. I didn't really know because I'm just making sheet metal products, but we're making server racks and we're making hundreds of them.
Oh,
and
I totally forgot about this part of the story.
Yeah,
the server dynamic.
How did you go from like a sheet metal job and get into that?
Well, ironically, I started with the very first product was to make DJ racks, mobile DJ racks, which is essentially a small server rack.
Okay.
And we were making the hardware and selling to DJ rack manufacturers because they're primarily made out of wood. So we sold them the hardware to build a rack mount system all over the country. And I had a head start because I was sort of in that business in my previous job. They had cut all of their small customers out because they were mostly defense contracting. So there was a window open for me to sell to those guys. They didn't have a supplier. So I hit the ground running.
Sure.
Hit the ground running mean I was doing $10,000 a month. It wasn't a big business, but we were hit the ground running. Yeah. It was 1988. I didn't need very much money to survive. My wife was a school teacher at the time. We got by. And so the DJ racks transitioned to mobile sound systems, to sound systems for churches and restaurants, but not just the sheet metal part.
Right.
And to the racks that are in data centers. So it just progressed.
That houses the cloud.
Right. And we were always OEM, so always made someone else's product. It was never our own product. Maybe that was a mistake. Maybe I would have a plane that didn't have a propeller if I would have gone that route. But we stayed with OEM supplying because it was steady. And I'm contrary to like a lot of entrepreneurs, I was relatively under controlled growth. We took as little debt as possible, always on equipment. That's the only way you could buy equipment. But we tried not to go crazy. And looking back, had I known the history, actually the company is still flourishing today because Microsoft and Google and Amazon are still adding data centers, and my old company's building them like crazy.
Well, that's the new boom, is the data center boom. I mean, we have friends in Texas that were working on manufactured housing communities, and then their land ended up being like the logical play for data centers, and they ended up making buku bucks on the land.
Yeah.
Because it had power
much of it in Texas. I bought my first plane to go back and forth to Texas. And for sure, because we were doing so much business there and I needed to be there. It's Monterrey, Mexico, seeing clients, making new products. I really am not seeing the end user. You know, again, we're OEM, but we had a lot of fun, added employees. And then 2000, kind of fast forwarding a little bit, we had the 2001 .com crash.
Yeah.
We went from 105 employees to 36.
Wow.
And it was a struggle. I mean, it actually gives me the chills and almost tear up just thinking about it. It was so difficult. Sold my house, went down to zero, barely made it. But I didn't lose any customers. They just warehouses full of equipment across the country waiting to be deployed. And because there was no capital, nobody was deploying equipment. It just stopped because we had done extra. You had Global Crossing and a couple of those other big companies that went out of business with big giant, that it wasn't called a data center yet, but big giant equipment rooms that were sitting idle with no actual electronic equipment and just the metal and the connection, the Global Crossing, the connection across the country or the ocean. And again, I don't know the technicals of it. I'm a metal bender. Yeah. But we stopped bending metal and then 9/11 hit and we stopped even more. So it was, we just barely made it, scrapped money up, refinanced some equipment and made it into 2002 and it slowly started to come back. And then we made a strong run 2002 through 2008. We had no hiccup in 2008, even though retail sales were down, online sales were up. So everyone was building data center. We kept on plugging away. Low margin work. Remember, this is sheet metal. So we weren't getting rich, but we were busy.
Yeah.
And we so we just kept going, started another company called Reliable Source, which was a metal sourcing company. And we needed to source our own metals from around the world. And at the same time, the gentleman I started that with, he was a kid at the time. He was 20 years old and he knew the off-road business. So we were sourcing the metal for our manufacturing business and also the tubing, stainless steel, aluminum, titanium that's used in race cars and off-road exhaust systems and headers and all the other ancillary items that go in the racing and off-road business, which is, of course, a California thing for the whole country. Most of the manufacturers, at least, were up and down the West Coast.
Yeah, SoCal is like a motorsports hub.
Motorsports hub.
I mean, because you feed into Baja, but you also have NASCAR and a lot of stuff going on.
A lot of stuff.
And then once you have that tech and you understand how to make exhaust, you can make exhaust for anything.
Right.
We had carried a large warehouse. I helped Ronnie. Ronnie had the contacts in the industry and he developed the sales. I helped him get the money to warehouse 35,000 square foot of raw material. So we had a huge, 20-foot ceilings, 30-foot ceilings of raw material so that we had whatever the clients needed. And our customers were the who's who in motorsports. I mean, we sold to everybody from Pro Circuit, Two Brothers, FMF. We sold them all their raw materials for a time, maybe still, I don't know. But, and then we also sourced a lot of product overseas, manufacturing small bits and pieces that some of these OEMs used large quantities of. So whether it be foot pegs or roll bar hooks or whatever, we had large quantities of that product that we sold to various resellers.
Okay, so you were doing both then. You were doing the, stuff for the data center.
Two separate companies,
okay.
But yeah.
Yes.
And two separate companies. I had what happened was 2001, I had extra real estate. And Ronnie came to me with the business. He had a deal where we could make some money if I buy this material in Korea and resell it.
Yep.
And I said, "Oh, I'm in, but not for a one-shot deal. I'm in if you want to make a business out of it." And he did. We built what eventually became a $20 million company reselling raw materials. So it was pretty exciting.
So tell me about the sourcing. I'm really interested in the macro dynamics. So you ended up buying a bunch of different types of high performance metals from where?
From South Korea, Australia, Philippines, China, China, a lot in China. Vietnam, high-end stainless steel had to come from South Korea because you can't bend the Chinese steel the way that our exhaust customers needed to bend it.
Oh, interesting.
It would just, the alloy mix wouldn't be right. So we had a small meaning for a stainless steel extruder in South Korea. We had these guys that gave us super high quality material that all of the manufacturers really liked because they could bend it. They could bend sharp bends without getting wrinkles in it. Again, it wasn't a business I knew that much about. I handled the finance side in the beginning, and then it ended up being a strong business that could run on its own. And Ronnie did a really good job of growing it. And it's whenever you're selling raw materials, it's a gamble because you're buying the material and then prices change. When prices go up, you're a hero.
Kicking butt.
And when prices go down after you've bought the material, it's ugly.
Yeah, it's a commodity in a way.
Yeah. And if you're sitting on inventory and prices go down, and they're always moving. Mm-hmm. So we had some rough times. We had good customers that held on to their deal. They would say they wanted 50,000 pounds or 100,000 pounds, and we put it in inventory. They would pay that price. We might give them a little bit of a break, but they might be overpaying for that material, but they were committed to it. So it was good. We had a good group of customers. Well, on both sides of the business. It's one of the things that drew me to you guys was I ran my business the same way. All of my customers, if I couldn't relate or deal with them very well, then they weren't really our A-list customers. I just they had to be a friendly relationship always, every order. And we built this whole business on never saying no. And the way we were able, it's hard in manufacturing because all of a sudden you're over capacity. And then we would go back to all of our friendly customers, say, what do you really need? You got 25 line items on order. What are you going to run out of this month? And we'd figure out what they need and we'd give them what they need. And that would make room for the new guy. And then we have a new customer and then we'd grow our capacity. And then I did that on accident. Actually, everything I learned in business was either a mistake or an accidental success that I then parlayed on. And one of them was just figuring out how to schedule manufacturing in a way that worked without letting anybody down. And that was not delivering what they didn't need. Yeah. I just say, if you don't need it, let's not make it because I need the space for something else.
Yeah, why store something that somebody doesn't need?
We did a good job with that over the years. It took ridiculous amount of hands-on. And I look at other manufacturers, I've consulted a little bit and I go to other companies and, there's a lot of people out there that get jaded. They don't answer the phone at 4:59, and they don't want to talk to their customers. And I'm like, I can't help you because it's a customer business. And I don't care what business you're in. It's a customer business.
Yeah. You're interfacing.
And, now, of course, everything's sort of changed. Everybody knows that game now. Everybody has hired guns on customer service. But 10, 15 years ago, there was a lot of small companies that were really doing it wrong. And you still run into them. We run into them in retail every day, right? We walk into business and say, I could kill it in this business. I don't have time, but I could kill it. You guys are blowing it. And it's a crack up. But anyway, to forward it all, Ron Stockwell grew up. He was 20. Now he's 40 something. And he bought me out of his metal distribution business. And then he bought me out of my business in 2019. And and I transitioned into, I'm getting the chills again, but I transitioned into retirement and having fun and helped them a little bit through COVID. Not much because we didn't have much to do, but the company's continued to grow. It now owns a building in Mexico and they're doing some of the legacy products, worldwide legacy products with our customers that are worldwide customers. So we have big distribution houses that distribute these telecommunication products worldwide, whether it's manufactured in Mexico or US on these legacy products, it's not important. On the key datacom products, especially the stuff that's government contracts and military installations and Navy or ship installations, those are all made in our Fontana facility, which is a campus of buildings in Fontana.
Okay.
And what did that, the more of the data center piece and the feeders for all that equipment, what did that business end up going to in volume? Pretty decent.
So that was, we were about 40 million in manufacturing last year.
Cool.
So it's because it's OEM, there's a whole bunch of layers after. I mean, I buy, you got the OEM who then sells it to a master distributor that then sells it to the local distributor. And there's 30 points at each markup. It just amazes me when I go in and see what the retail level is. And I shake my head on why we didn't start our own brand.
Because the margin was so good.
The margin was so big compared to where we were. So it was, but
hindsight's always 20/20.
But I also had a great group of employees. Yeah. We treated them like family. Our margins, we always kept the margins. We knew there was this huge markup and we had to give them room for that huge markup or they wouldn't buy it because these are publicly traded companies and they have strict margin rules.
Sure.
They don't just cut their margin like we did. So,
well, and you're unearthing the actual material, making it an initial, call it draft one, and then they mold it into the finished product up the supply chain.
Right.
Up the side, we would. Most of the products were boxed and ready to go to an end user.
Oh wow!
Yeah, they were ready to go. We're still the company's still building thousands of racks a month for Microsoft, and we've been doing it for 20 years. The end user is Microsoft.
So
there's an OEM in between.
While you're having fun thinking back and taking away lessons learned on that, like, is there anything you'd teach your kids or conversations you have or lessons that you'd impart along the way to, like,
if somebody was trying to build a business or get creative with something like that?
The biggest thing that I always thought was just the super fast communication. Mm-hmm. And of course, it's way faster now because we have open systems and we have customers that are actually logging into our manufacturing systems. Mm-hmm. But before that, we were really open with where we were, late or early, really early, and like maybe 3 or 4 weeks before delivery. We're announcing to our customers that there's going to be a delivery schedule issue. What do you want to do? Which products are critical? And again, that was kind of accidental. You hate to tell customers that, especially if it's a false alarm, because you might get caught up. And but the communication factor, bearing it all early and being super honest about it was such I became so good at it that sometimes I also became really good at fixing issues when they would go wrong, that I had better relationships. The more problems there were with a customer, the better our relationship was. Yeah. Because I solved the problems.
And it gave you an opportunity to help them solve whatever issue.
And so at the end of the year, we would be maybe we were 10th on the list as far as quality goes. But because we were so proactive in fixing all of our quality issues, they're praising us in these customer appreciation or vendor supplier relationship meetings.
Yeah.
And we're getting great, it was the weirdest thing to the point where I almost wanted to make mistakes and solve them. It happened to be that I'm kind of a firefighter anyway. So when something goes wrong, I'm all hands on deck because that's, as the president of the company, that's the opportunity I got to do. But solving problems, and I never worried about what it cost us. And sometimes it cost us 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 times what the sale was
on that particular.
But we did it.
Solidified the long-term
whatever it
piece.
was.
And you learned something. So then it was an opportunity for an improvement, not only with that customer, but maybe with more.
That's what I impart to my son who's doing some real estate stuff is when you've got your syndication and you've got an issue, you let everybody know.
Yeah.
And you let everybody know early, and maybe it will work out and it won't be a problem.
Exactly.
But you get everybody on board early. Maybe they have some ideas. Maybe they have some contacts.
Yeah.
Get everybody involved. Or maybe they want to back out. And what I was thinking when I say back out, I was thinking of my customers who want to say, you know what? I don't need product A anyway.
Right.
I'd like to cancel that order, but I was afraid to call you or whatever. So to me, laying it all on the table and getting everybody involved is the biggest thing, because hardly anybody wants to do that. I mean, that's hard, especially proud business owners.
Well, you're not, but everyone can make it when the going's good.
Right.
And so then what I feel like the relationship building that you did through challenges is the boys become men and you earn your stripes and you become 100%. Respected as a business owner if you can communicate effectively.
And there's no doubt that in all of the worst case scenarios that I had, 2001, 2008, a little bit because it was scary, even though our business was fine. I learned the most when things went wrong.
Oh,
I didn't learn anything when things were good. Yeah, so that's my story. So now to transition to real estate, I have a funny story on how I got started in real estate. So 1982, I'm in college and I joined the ski club. I've never been skiing before, but I joined the ski club at Cal Poly Pomona because they had the best parties. And so I sign up at one of the parties. I sign up to go to Sun Valley, Idaho, and I have never been skiing before.
Okay.
So I go to Sun Valley for a week with 150 other college kids on buses. We drive all the way to Sun Valley. I rent some skis at a good old Chick's Sporting Goods. And we go to Sun Valley. I ski for a week. I kind of fall in love with it. This is really fun.
Yeah.
Mostly I like the people because they're my kind of people.
Yeah.
And it's a fun time. And it was this core group that was running the ski club. And I knew a couple of these guys from high school, and we were friends. And we came home, and about 2 months later, my friend calls me. He says, "Hey, I got this house in Mammoth that my friend's dad wants out of. He just wants to sell it.
Oh. So
his brothers are taking 1/4. There's 3 of them. We need 8 other guys to do the rest of it." So we got 8 guys together, and so now there's 12, right? Or the math isn't working, but it was 12 total. You had 3 guys in each quarter. So I owned 1/12 of a ski house in Mammoth right next to the Canyon Lodge, which was called Warming Up back then. And, and 82 to 88 or 87, I had that house, and it was the only thing I owned, right? I didn't own my car. I was barely 20, and we went up there 2 or 3 weeks. We made it a free for all. Everybody could come. It's just the 3 guys whose weekend it was got the master bedroom. That was the only rule.
Okay.
But it slept 15 in beds. It was awesome. It was a total flop house. I mean, if you dropped the pizza on the floor, you would lose the pizza. Like, you couldn't find it because it had red and black shag. It was pretty nasty, but it was so much fun.
And that was the era. 20 years old. That's like the heyday.
We could do a whole podcast on those stories, except for I'd end up divorced, so we won't. But it was a really fun time. We discovered somewhere in that, it was the early days of mountain biking.
Amazing.
We were discovering mountain biking, and we were skiing, and I was skiing 30 or 40, 50 days a year, fell in love with skiing. 1987 comes, and we all look at each other and say, we got to get rid of this place. We were all starting to get married.
Yeah.
And so we sold it, and it was my payment was $75 a month.
Wow.
In 1982. My 112. And then it slowly went up because snow removal and electricity and everything went up. But the payment was $75 a month, and I could barely come up with it. I struggled every month. But so in 1988, we sold, and I got a check for $35,000. So I had like 5 folded my actual cash outlay plus all the fun we had.
Yeah.
And I'm looking like, how did that happen? Why did it happen? Because I didn't know anything. I should have, but my dad was really conservative. He never did any type of real estate investing. He was a government worker, had a great childhood, but we were a conservative family. And so I put that in the back of my head, started my business with that money, took that 35, started my company. Okay. And parlayed from there. In 2000, I had a chance, or in 1999, I guess it was, I signed a lease, and it had a lease option. I had an advisor who was telling me, don't buy a building because your business is growing too fast. I'm like, well, he's offering me a lease option. The guy had a construction defect on the building. It was a 35,000 square foot building, construction default lawsuit. He couldn't sell it, but he could put an option on it. And for some reason, the option helped him with the other deal he was doing. I don't really know why. I think because the same bank was financing all of his stuff. So I had an option. Fast forward 2 more years, the option was a no-brainer. The building had gone up $1 million.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I got to do this deal. Well, I didn't have any money. How am I going to do the deal? So we did we refinanced some equipment, kind of did a little bit of finagling.
Pulled some cash out.
Pulled out some cash, got an SBA loan, put 10% down. And now I own the building we're in, which was good. And then 2001 hit, and like I said before, the bottom dropped out. I sold my house. I bought a big house in Murrieta. I'm like, okay, this is going to be great. I'm going to love this house. It, of course, went way up in those 4.5 years that I owned it. So I sold it, pulled all that cash out, saved my business, barely.
Okay. So that was your saving
So in
grace.
a way, the .com saved you from the mortgage crisis because you had to get out of your home before the mortgage crisis.
I got a home in 2001.
Yeah.
And I used that money to prop the business up. The business came back 2002, really came back in 2003. And I was able to get back into another smaller house. And, my personal life was fine, or was okay. I was a little struggling there for a while. 2001, I didn't take a paycheck. So that was pretty tight. Cashed in every savings I had, 401ks, whatever. I didn't 401ks, I had IRAs, I guess. But took all the cash, had to survive. I knew the business would come back, so I didn't lose any customers. They were there.
Yeah.
So fast forward real estate wise, we get up to 2007 and we're busting at the seams. I find a building that's already gone down in value $1 million. And I'm thinking, we should buy this building. And it was bigger. It's 80,000 square feet. We move on to this building. It was on 5 acres. We could build another building if we needed to. So another magical, I put my building up for sale, and it was March of 2007. Things were starting to fall off the cliff. And I got a quick buyer, and I was able to parlay into this bigger building and continue working. And then I had another $1.5 million in equity. So it was like $2 million in equity I had on that building. So I was able to parlay that into the new building.
So
get
when
another SBA loan.
You bought it in 99?
I bought it in 99. I sold it in 2007.
So almost 10 years.
Yeah, pushing 10 years.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then I moved, and then I parlayed into the other building. And now I'm like, I keep making money on real estate, and I'm struggling in my business. I mean, we're profitable. I mean, we're making income to live on.
Yeah.
But that's it. We keep refinancing. We're in huge debt. I don't really see a window out, but other than growth,
keep going.
Just keep going. So all of a sudden, I think I turned when would I have turned 40 in 2002, and I'm like, okay, I've got to figure out a way out of this someday. In 2008, we buy that building. Or 2007, and then the wheels fall off the real estate bus. The building goes down another couple million. Who knows? Doesn't matter because I'm locked in an SBA loan, and we're still selling equipment, and we're busy. Fast forward another few years, and then I realized I need to buy some houses. And my kids are close; they're starting to graduate from high school. We come down here to San Diego because my daughter's going to San Diego State, and we look at houses. And my wife is San Diego native. Is showing me the college district and homes that we can buy down here. And I'm looking at these homes. I'm used to the Inland Empire where you buy a house.
Yeah.
San Diego, you buy land. And so I buy a $500,000 house in Murrieta. I get a $600,000 house for $500,000. I come down to, and a free plot of land.
Yeah.
I come down to San Diego, and for my same $500,000, I get a $200,000 house and a plot of land, a small plot of land.
Yeah.
And I can't wrap my hand around it. And we make zero commitments. Instead, I pay $1,000 rent for a room for my daughter to go to school. And I can't wrap my head around spending that money on what looks to me like a house you could haul away in your pickup truck in 3 hours. And, and my wife reminds me of it every day. But we could have probably bought, it wasn't that hard to buy those houses at that point if you had a little bit of cash. And we had availability of cash. I wouldn't say we had cash. We had availability of cash. We could have done it. And all my friends that did it, they're flying in planes without propellers. But we didn't do it. But we ended up buying, when my son came down here, we bought a house, and then we bought another one. And, but those were all a lot of work, right? The normal work when you have single family rentals. So it was,
it's a separate business.
It wasn't, it was like, okay, I really don't want to keep doing this. And then in 2012, we bought a couple more commercial buildings in Fontana. And one of them, we were the highest. My real estate broker didn't want me to buy it. He's all, this is the most expensive building in the last 5 years in Fontana. Why would you want to buy this one? Well, it's $3 a foot more than the other ones, and I'm already have a business in it. I don't want to move. It's $3. And at the end of the day, what I learned by not just that, but by several other deals, is if your horizon is more than 3 or 5 years,
you got time.
Haggling over 1 or 2 or 3% or 4% is not even worth it. No. If you see other qualities, they're more important than the actual price up to a point. Yeah. Especially if you're not, you don't want to buy the house that's overlooking the freeway necessarily. You got to have some standards.
Right.
But the actual price at the end of the day, if your horizon is reasonable, 5 years, isn't as important.
Yeah.
Well, and then
assuming you can cash flow,
you gain control of that asset. And if it is in a good location and has good demand sounds like you had the business, but also could lease it up and do it. Yep. Yeah. We agree.
So it worked out well. Yeah. It worked out well. Right. I mean, it's similar to what you guys do for sure.
Yeah. You can't squabble. I've lost deals over the years now where I look back, I lost by $100,000 on a $5 million asset. And
now it's worth way more. And we kick ourselves going, oh my God, we would have spent that $100,000 over and over again.
Right. Exactly. And that's exactly my point. If you can cash flow it, especially if it's, so when I was buying those houses, I was like, I just want the deal to break even, or maybe I put in $300 or $400 a month and then forget about it.
Right.
And in that time, I bought a 2 5-unit apartment complexes in Palm Springs. That was just a weird deal because my brother-in-law was a property manager in Palm Springs. And so he knew the out-of-state, out-of-country owners that just wanted to unload their properties. And he was a broker also. And we picked up a couple of properties, and it was my wife's passion to go out and convert these mid-century modern apartments into flashy, cool places to live from a drab unit. So she remodeled 1 unit at a time. So I think we had 10 units, 2 5-plexes, and 1 unit at a time. She remodeled them. And of course she got a lot of help by that was 2009, 10, 11, 12. So the market was headed, everybody wins, but we won pretty big on those 2 deals. And I think in 21 and 23, we sold them.
Okay.
And, because it was too much work.
We made some money on it.
We made some good money on those deals. We spent a lot of money on them because my wife was doing it and she was passionate about it being perfect. Yeah. So we spent a lot of money on little tiny 1-bedroom apartments.
Were you managing those too?
Yeah. Well, my brother-in-law was really was the property manager because that's what he has 500 doors in Palm Springs.
Okay, so he was helping you there.
Yeah, he ran that part of it. We didn't do any tenant dealing other than telling him which unit we wanted to remodel next. Waiting for someone to move out. Yeah, and or pushing them a little bit because we had to remodel them. And I looked at it and I go, I can't buy this. I can't do this to tenants. I couldn't believe people were living like that.
Yeah.
And they were $400 a month rentals. In the end, we were getting $1,400 a month.
Yeah,
the location was great. It was just totally run down. Yeah. And anyway, it was a lot of fun, and I learned a bunch more. You couldn't do that again and make the money we made because the appreciation was where the money. They would have appreciated whether we did anything or not. To some extent.
Yep. But then you proved model. You went through it.
Yeah, we got both sides of it. We way overspent on the improvements.
Yeah.
But luckily we got away with it because the appreciation was so fast.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of fun and we learned a lot. Tracy learned a lot. I was busy. But we had a lot of fun with that. We won't do it again. I won't do that again because I've transitioned 40s, 50s, now 60s into I'm not a gambler anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on that side. I got friends that love it. You probably have a ton of friends that love it. I don't can't do the construction side. That's just, it's too weird. It's too weird. I have a hard enough time on the remodel of my own house, how much extra we end up spending. I can't imagine if I'm doing that in an investment property. So
I know.
Well, the key I feel like is if you were to continue doing it, it's that you scale up beyond a point where you have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And then you have a team and
then you have a team
create a structure around it, just like you did with your business.
Yep,
and
for sure. Yeah. For sure. And if you liked it, and like I said, I have friends that are doing it and still doing it. They've been doing it since 2001, and then I have one group of guys that did something like 300 properties in 2008 and 9. Buy and flip, and I couldn't get involved. It wasn't my risk level, even though it wasn't that risky. They did really well.
Yeah, but it required a lot of cash though. It was you're buying it from the banks. Yeah. It was an interesting moment. We had some friends that did that,
unfortunately. So I transitioned more and more as I looked back at the real estate successes I had and the real successes of the successes of the properties we own. I thought that the sale made more and more sense to me because now I have the rent from these commercial buildings, and the triple net was so appealing. We bought these buildings in Fontana. We had one leased out to a third party. We had the other two with our own companies in it, and rents had gone up, and they'd gone up in 17, 18, and 19. And then I sold the business in 20 or 19, and then rents went up again over COVID, and it just got ridiculous on how much the value of the building had gone up from, $70 a foot to $350 a foot in 20 years.
Unreal.
And the 2012 building that I overpaid for at $90 a foot, now, or was $350, came down a little bit after this last year because there's a glut of buildings in the Fontana area. But we ended up with a terrific sale and sold that building this last year, which got us to diversify really out of California commercial buildings, too many, into more pieces. So we were able to diversify, and we bought a building in Texas and a building in Nevada. And then we met you guys.
Yeah.
And the thing that drew me to Comfort was, pardon the pun, but the comfortable feeling that I really did get. And what I mean by that is when I first met you, came to maybe an event you had, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I immediately nobody was selling me. You were telling me about your family and your story and your employees. And it resonated so well with me because it's exactly how I sold my clients. Sometimes I talk too much like I am today, but I wasn't necessarily selling. I was telling a story.
Sure.
And you guys were telling me a story. And I had already contacted various syndicators, and usually everybody I talked to told me, focus solely on the return, right? Of course, we're interested in the return.
Yeah, I mean, that's important, but it's not always the number one most important.
Well, the most important is that you're sincere.
Yeah, real people.
Not everybody comes across, they might be sincere.
True.
I don't know. I didn't invest with them, but I didn't get the warm feeling from a lot of the guys. I went and visited properties. I flew across the country. I went to 10 different syndication sites, looked at their dirt, looked at the deal they were going to do. Didn't really want to be involved in construction anyway, but looked at it. And not only did I not necessarily really like the people, but I didn't like the projects. And they were selling hard. And then I kind of, you figure it out that, well, there's a reason why they're selling hard. It's a tough project. They may be making a bunch of money. I'm not going to follow up and look, because it doesn't matter.
You might have avoided a big issue there, though, too, because multi's a mess right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And
multi's a mess.
I think they needed it. They needed the money, and there's
no doubt.
That's a nightmare.
And I wasn't that close to making those deals, but I wanted to look. And it was fun. Plus, it was fun.
You have 100%. To look and learn and hear about it to understand, too.
So we enjoyed that. But meeting you guys and hearing the whole story of the family, seeing the story of the deals you've already done, the track record made this one an easy part of our portfolio.
Well, thank you for the nice compliment.
And it's comfortable. Yeah. It's comfortable. Comfort. It's a comfortable deal because, like I said earlier, was that I'm less risky now. But it's not just about the risk. It's about the anxiety. And I want everything I touch to be successful, right? I'm a business guy.
Yeah, sure.
I'm pushing, but I don't want to work very hard. And I don't want to sit and think about a deal that's not working, because that just wears on you and it wears you out.
Well, you're a problem solver. So that then you want to solve the problem, or how can I help them solve a problem if there's an investment going sideways for whatever reason?
Yeah. And I don't want to dig in.
Yeah.
I mean, I do and I don't. I do and I don't. I enjoy, my grandkids, my free time that I have right now, my bicycling, car racing, things that we're doing. But most importantly, I enjoy being able to go to sleep. Whenever anyone asked me in the 90s or 2000s, do you have stress? I always said, no, I don't have any stress. And then I sold my business. And then I found out, holy crap, I was stressed every day. I didn't really know it. I didn't equate that as stress.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't.
It was normal for you.
I wasn't shaking at the table. I wasn't, I equated stress with some physical trait that got you. But what I did have was crappy sleep, a lot of quiet anxiety. I don't mean anxiety where I needed to go see a doctor, but pent up energy because I need to go solve a problem all the time.
Your brain was always working.
Emergency somewhere. Yeah.
I wrote, I wrote hundreds of pages of notes before I learned to use the microphone on my phone, but hundreds of pages of notes next to my bed to try to free my brain up and hope that I could sleep. And I remember, my wife used to tell me how angry I would get, not about my business, not about anything, about not being able to sleep and knowing that I had to be at the office at 6 a.m. and I couldn't sleep. Yeah. And that's giving me anxiety just thinking about it.
So you moved through that.
And
you've been able to relax. And
I've been able to relax. So I want to make sure the investments we do now don't put me back in that position.
Fair enough. And you learned a few things about risk factors and how to pick them.
Well, and how you don't want to manage it and you don't want to be involved in construction projects. And so along the way, by doing those and experiencing all of that, you now have a clearer picture of kind of what you're targeting.
I'm sure that there's high margins to be made out there if you're willing to put in the work. And it looks like it's not that I'm not willing to put in the work. I'm not willing to put in the work and the anxiety or risk that comes along with that.
So what'd you end up with? I never heard the wrap up of the story. We have our little deal we put together with you guys. Our deal.
So I ended up with a dialysis center in Las Vegas.
Okay.
A 16,000 square foot building with a 20-year triple net lease, corporate guarantees.
Okay.
And a kinder care preschool in Texas, pretty close to, it's in Denton. It's in
just south of there,
Fort Worth, right on the
close to Denton.
Yeah.
Good.
But again, with I think that one has 15 years left on the lease, triple net, not super high returns, but a good cap rate.
Great company.
Great buildings, both of them really nice buildings. They'll be there forever. The Texas one is brick, so I think it'll survive a tornado. They're easy. They're triple net and they're easy. The returns are not like some of my friends in real estate where they want to do that deal because they want to see higher returns. I want steady income.
Yeah.
And so it works for us. Between that and the commercial buildings we have left in California and your deal, we're able to easily meet our cash flow requirements. In other words, we've hit our cash flow conquest.
But we
Cheers to that. Cheers to that.
So we hit ours and save our retirement money for somewhat later in life. So it's working out pretty well.
That's awesome.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. I didn't really mean to just
No. So this is a celebration of your story. We're just the interviewers. Okay. You're the interviewee. So this is perfect. And it was a great story.
Yeah. And it's an interesting fact because everybody's on this like cash flow quest, right? And setting that target, everybody we're like, how do you do that? And you set the target to your cash flow or the target that you and your wife needed. And so you knew you needed to buy this many buildings or deploy this much capital to then achieve that cash flow that you guys are trying to kind of accomplish. And so congrats on accomplishing that because it is a journey and it's not easy to do. And I mean, look at all of those highs and the lows and the chills that you get even thinking about telling that story.
You earned it.
You earned it. Yeah.
And that's cool. So that's the quest of it.
It is. So thanks for sharing that because it's a very interesting story and people, when you're in the thick of it, sometimes it's really hard to kind of like pull back and know there is a light at the end of the tunnel and you're going to get there and you're going to make mistakes and learn from them to then do better and keep going. So I love that.
Appreciate it. Yeah. That 5-year window, that's the magic number for me. Every deal that as long as it lasted 5 years, it came out rosy in the end.
Awesome.
So cool.
Thanks for telling your story and for being here.
Yeah.
Good time. We'll do it again sometime.
Sounds
We'll
good.
talk about race, cars and planes next time.
Let's do it.
Perfect. Let's do it. Yeah.
Thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Cash Flow Quest. All right. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
See ya.